I also have Siddharth Purohit joining us on ET Now. And Siddharth, what do you make of the new guidelines? Largely on expected lines, yes, but it does thwart any plans if any big business houses have to enter the banking space. They can at the best hold 10% stake. Of course, NBFCs owned by Indians are eligible. Promoters need to have a minimum experience of 10 years in the banking and finance space. There's been a lot of ring fencing as far as the banking space is concerned, isn't it? Even on tap.
More or less, all the guidelines that has been given right now were known to market participants because all things were given in the draft guidelines itself. Now, what it basically says, to my understanding, is that only serious players will apply for this time for the actual license, because there is a definite time period within which they have to first of all start operations. Secondly, banking is not an easy business anymore. The new players will have to start maintaining all these regulatory norms, starting from SLR, CRR, as well as priority sector lending. So borrowing at a certain rate, at a competitive rate for the new banks, is not going to be that easy. And secondly, a lot of NBFCs have already enjoyed substantially good ROE, despite not being a bank. So not necessarily all NBFCs will run towards getting this license. Only very serious player with a very long horizon will definitely go for it. So, and now that it's an on-tap licensing, why would somebody get into a hurry for applying, rather than they would try to prepare themselves in terms of balance sheet and have a clear vision and then go for it. Now, as far as your question of big corporates being excluded, I think it was from the very beginning that RBI had been of a view that large corporates should not be, industrial houses should not be allowed to get into banking business. As Mr. Jain also was saying that because of this arm's length, that distance should be maintained between banking and the companies which are large borrowers. So I think there is nothing wrong about it, what the guidelines is saying. And there are certain, to our knowledge, there would be certain serious players who would approach this license. But let us see, the final, we need to study the further guidelines and take a call on this.
Fair point indeed, and there's a very good point that you made, that because this is on tap, people will not apply in a rush and then retrieve their applications like it happened in the case of the other niche banks. But Mr. Jain, how do you see on tap change the banking landscape? There is no longer going to be a restricted window within which you can apply for banking licenses. It's going to be a far bigger catchment area that you can play upon. So how do you see this change the Indian banking landscape, so to say?
I think this will change not only Indian banking landscape, but Indian financial services and financial inclusion also. Because, banking is not a scarce resource like mining, or is not something where government is collecting some money by way of auction. So it should be free and on tap, which is the most logical thing to do. It happened after a long time, but still it happened now. The economy is growing. When the economy grows, it has a much more requirement for monetizing, more requirement for giving financial services. Obviously, it needs more players. Not only that, if you really look at 70% of our banking system is PSU bank, and they will really find it difficult to raise more capital. And if they can't raise more capital, then the growing need of credit can't be met. But if you get private sector players who have a good track record, and who have demonstrated something, they have the ability to raise capital. Most of it comes from foreign sources. So once they get capital, that allows them to, lend also on which will be certain multiple number of times, and which meets the requirement for credit. So I think this step has come in right time, and this will, in medium to long term, will help sustain and maintain the economic growth, because you can't have an economic growth which crosses certain, say, 8%, 9% or whatever, and there is not adequate credit availability, because that becomes, the limiting factor. So in a way, I think this is a very positive move. This is, and as we rightly mentioned, that if it's on tap, then there won't be scramble. Because what happens when there's a scarcity and a scramble, people who are not serious, they also apply, and then it becomes very difficult to figure out and becomes very political, that who will get license, who will not get. So anybody who's eligible can get it, and I think that's the best thing to do. Just like if you look at broking license, insurance company license, mutual fund, AMC, all these licenses are on tap. But that doesn't mean that every day there are 50 applications. There are very few and far between, because players who really want it, they go to maybe whoever be the regulator and get the license. So all the, whether you look at ARC, whether you look at microfinance, whether you look at NBFC, everything is on tap. and now banking will also be on tap.
How do you think this changes lives? And I'm going to ask you that question and take it to Siddharth next. How do you think this changes lives for present operators, the present entrenched banking players, both in the private and the public sector space, more in private actually? Is there a monopoly of sorts that's all set to be broken?
Yeah. Sorry, come again?
Sure, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Jain. No, I'm just saying, how does this change life for the private sector players right now?
The lives of existing private sector players, because economy is very large and it has a huge requirement for banking services. One, two, the new players, because on tap, so they will come in phases. They won't come at in one rush. They will take their own time to build up their base. So they may take about 12 to 18 months to start off. Then they will have to build up their capital base and their book over a period of time. So I think by the time that these players become of any significant size, the new players who now start, is a 5 to 10 year horizon. So, and by then there'll be enough growth and enough opportunities for existing players. So any well-run bank in a growing economy will not have a problem, and I think they can continue to maintain their growth over a period of time. I'll see a consolidation in public sector space. So the incremental credit will be more and more met by existing private sector players as well as the new entrants. And the relative share of PSU will shrink, if you look at really long-term horizon, and which is in fact a logical thing to happen.
Fair point indeed. Siddharth, I want to quickly pick up your mind on no less than 51% of the total paid-up equity capital of the NOFHC shall be owned by the promoter group, instead being wholly owned by the promoter group. So that's one point. And the second point I wanted to ask you is that the non-financial business of the group does not account for 40% or more in terms of total assets or gross income. Which are the players, according to you, who are ready candidates and have been waiting for a banking license and could be the big beneficiaries of this on-tap banking? Siddharth?
Yeah, in fact, before taking out the names, we would like to evaluate further and look for the serious candidate who are really eligible, as well as serious about applying for it. So we need to really evaluate further and take a call on the final names, who should be eligible and who should be actually be aggressively pursuing for applying for this license instantly.
All right, I'm afraid we're completely running out of time here on this edition. But thank you very much for joining us in what will perhaps change the face of Indian banking space. There is no longer going to be a rationed small window to apply. This is on-tap banking. You can apply any time. You just don't have to be a big industrial house. And if you are, you can at best own just 10%. But other than that, this is enabling the non-financial business have to be no more than 40% of your business. And of course, NOFHCs will have to be owned by no less than 51% by the promoter group. But thank you very much, each one of you, for joining us. Mr. Jain, Mr. Purohit, and of course, Maithili.